and welcome to Just a Sharp Scratch. Today, where I'm joined by Peter Watt, a nursing associate and research associate with the Southwest Clinical School and an honorary clinical research fellow at the University of Plymouth. Peter's had an incredible journey from working as a theatre assistant to practicing as a scrub nurse and now breaking ground in research. He's also here leading work to support nursing associates through their peer-to-peer network in mental health, learning disability and autism. Peter, it's great to have you with us.
Hi, Martin. This is such a nice opportunity to join you, talk about my work and just talk with another nursing associate about the world of nursing associates as well. So,
Oh, no, it's
absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh, no, it's absolutely our pleasure. And it's, like I said, you've had such a unique and journey that you've got, and especially the role that you're doing. But before we kind of get into your journey, we kind of like to start with a little bit of fun and kind of, before we said those interrogation questions get out. So we always get our guests to give us an icebreaker question, but I'd like you to pick a number between 1 and 200.
Okay, I'll have 27, please.
27. Ooh, 27.
27.
2 and 7. 27 is okay.
I was wondering if you could do bingo calling.
Yeah, we could. Yeah. But no one's asked for 22 yet, so I can't do the ducks.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, but your question is right. So your question is, what's the most memorable meal you've ever had?
Oh, do you know these? You say interrogation. When I've listened to your other guests, I think this might be the hardest question. Actually, wow, the most. Oh, actually, yeah. No, it was Oh, yeah. So I was in the Canary Islands, and I was with my daughter and her mother, and me and the daughter just wanted a burger and a beer or a Coke or something. And her mother hit upon the idea that she wanted fish. I mean, it's a long story, but we got into this really fancy restaurant. I was wearing shorts and a T-shirt. And there were people, there were people fine dining. And we ended up having this, what was it? It was a gurnard that was covered in salt crystals. And baked, covered in, and then they brought it to the table on a trolley with a silver salver, and then they doused it in vodka and flambéed it, and it was just the whole thing was ridiculous. But yeah, I just wanted a burger.
I just want a burger. Yeah, didn't want the facts. To be honest with you, I always answer these questions as well because it's not fair just to kind of drop these on you. And I think the most memorable thing for me was being in New York, and we wanted just steak and chips. That's all we asked. So we remember asking the connoisseur at the hotel, so where to go, and he sent us to this place just down the road. And I should have twigged the moment there wasn't any prices on the menu and all these celebrity photos. You think, come in this booth, this looks quite nice. And all we ordered was 2 steaks and chips and 2 Cokes. And it came to the equivalent, it came to $230, which was the same as £170 for steak and chips and Coke. And it
was it that Kobu stuff, or is that what it's Kobu beef, the Japanese?
I have no idea. Or the Wagyu stuff, isn't it?
I don't know.
No, it was just, I think it was just a big steak that we just ordered, nothing rump steak, and it wasn't anything special. Aldi was better, I thought. But yeah, it was just shocking. And obviously then you had to give them tip as well. So that was just like, oh, what do we do? So that was probably the most memorable and most expensive meal I've ever had for 2 people.
So the guy in the hotel, he was on a commission, surely.
He must have been. Yeah. Saw 2 mugs, 2 British people coming over. I'll send them there. Should have gone to McDonald's, but never mind. Right, let's crack on with the show. Right. So, what inspired you to transition in from working as a theatre assistant to becoming a nursing associate, and obviously now into research?
I think, probably like a lot of nursing associates, I've been doing the same role as a theatre assistant for, I think it was 9-10 years. And I was getting, I was thinking I need a change. I need to sort of get a career going and start something else. 9 years is a long time to be doing that role, really. And then the apprenticeship came along in our trust. I think it was 2020 when I started. And so it was just a great opportunity. And, in my current role, researching and, for instance, on the peer-to-peer network for the mental health, learning disability and autism nurses, the discussions that we have, and also in other strands of my research and doing my apprenticeship. The opportunity is such a great opportunity to, to do an apprenticeship, get trained. And I'm sure, like yourself and hopefully all the other nursing associates, the sort of doors that it's opened in terms of just your self-perception, the new roles, new skills that you practice, incredible. So it was that really. I was thinking maybe going off to do plumbing or
Wow. Okay.
counselling,
Yeah.
just before the apprenticeship came along. I was like, what would I like to do? And I thought, well, plumbers seem to do all right. I can be quite technical, but
Yeah. Good with your hands.
yeah. But no, it was a great opportunity, challenging. The apprenticeship, I found it, challenging. Um, ultimately really enjoyable and life changing. I'd say, really, yeah, it's great. It's a great opportunity. However, as you're aware, I know through looking at your work, and then just conversationally with lots of our colleagues, the teething troubles that have accompanied the role still exist and need to be addressed, I think. Yeah.
There's still
So yeah,
lots of
that's what. And then after I finished my foundation, um, nursing associate foundation, a lot of my cohort, we were the first cohort to go through our local college, which was great. There were sort of 13 of us. The talk was, when are you going to top up? And I was told I had to wait 18 months in my trust before they would put me through to registered nurse training. So I reapplied at the same college to top up my foundation degree to a full Bachelor of Science. And I recommend that to anyone listening to consider that as an option. So I worked part-time in my nursing associate role and then stayed at college for another 12 months. And I did an applied social sciences course, which was really fascinating. And I was able to relate all of the assignments to my role in healthcare as well.
And how was it? Obviously, because they said you joined in 2020, so obviously you must have gone through the learning through COVID and stuff like that. That must have been incredibly tricky and challenging at that time.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't know, were you working in during COVID? Just wearing a mask all day was, just doing that and then putting on the aprons. And it's like, you take one off the roll of aprons and it was broken. And so you've got to get another one. So doing that sort of 30, 40 times a day, just that in itself. And then, everything else as well. Initially, the fear about, when a lot of the world was staying at home, we were going into the wards and working there. So I didn't do intensive care, I didn't work there. But still, it's global pandemic. It's a scary thing.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned your time working as a scrub nurse. So how did that kind of hands-on clinical experience shape the way that you view nursing care and kind of team dynamics?
When I was doing my apprenticeship, I kept getting told that, it doesn't really apply. The demands of the apprenticeship don't really apply to theatre nursing, but I disagreed with that. You've still got patients, you still have to care for them. Quite often they're unconscious, but not all the time. And the team dynamics in an operating theatre can be quite intense. You can't sort of go and work in another bay or something, or go and just take time out in another room as easily. And then you're working with the ward nurses as well. So I think the same sort of dynamic and patient-facing skills apply. And I also did some shifts as well on our surgical warders. So I was getting more sort of involved with checking the patients in and giving them their post-operative care as well and discharging them. So, during my apprenticeship, I had quite a sort of, just in my base placement, I had quite a good sort of broad experience. Yeah.
So with your peer-to-peer network, can you tell us a bit about the kind of NA mental health and learning disability and autism peer-to-peer network that you have? Why was it created and what kind of difference is it making?
It was created as a sort of string to my research project. So I was employed, I took a secondment initially from my theatre scrub role. I took a 12-month secondment, and the project was to research nursing associates working in mental health, learning disabilities and autism services. And I hadn't worked in MHLDA, so I didn't come from that background, but I had the social science experience. I was fresh out of university doing that. So so it was applicable. So I was lucky. I was really fortunate. I got the role, which I really wanted. 12 months out, and then I'd go back into being a theatre scrub nurse. Great opportunity. And early on in the discussions with my supervisors and the team that was sort of steering the project, which was sort of coming out of NHS England Southwest, they set me a sort of research task, which was this thing called a scoping review, but also to establish a community of practice, a national peer-to-peer network. So that's sort of, I'd never done that before. And so I started to use the contacts that the steering committee had, and I sent emails out. And then I got a lot of interest from nursing associates working in mental health, learning disabilities and autism, which I'll just call MHLDA from now on, and also trainee nursing associates as well. And one thing I realised is that, even if you're working, say me working in a theatre environment, MHLDA still applies. It applies to myself, my colleagues, and also the patients as well. Obviously, so the skills, the MHLDA skills, I think, are sort of highly transferable and applicable in a lot of circumstances as well. So yeah, I've established this peer-to-peer network. I think we've got about 150 members at the moment. I'm always recruiting for more people. Part of the trouble is that we meet up online sort of every 2.5, 3 months, and people are busy. I'm always trying to get people to join me in the hosting of each meeting as well, and set an agenda for the meeting as well. We've had some really good informal chats, but at the moment I'm trying to sort of steer some themes through the meetings. So recently we've had research and practice, role identity, and then the next theme that I'm going to present on in September is bridging the gap, the concept of bridging the gap. So yeah.
No,
In a way,
sounds really, really, really good. I'm glad, I said it's one of those things I said, being able to kind of bring those people together from all around England and stuff, who probably feel isolated on their own, but knowing that they've got people in the same field as them just down the road or even further down, but having someone they can talk to.
that is the ethos behind it. I feel in a way that I don't have quite enough time to really, it's quite sort of demanding in terms of reaching out, creating resources, keeping it current, keeping the impact. I'm sure you experience something similar with your sort of multimedia sort of activities as well. So it's been a learning curve for me, sure, a learning experience that I've recently done some training in teaching, so I'm trying to bring that to it. But I think the fact that it is quite dispersed is a bit of a challenge. But yeah, so I'm still working on it. It's a work in progress. So if any of the members are listening, please bear with me. And also please, if you've got an idea for one of the themes for a meeting or you'd like to host it, please take over, because it's not about me, actually. It's about the community. The ideal would be to generate a community of practice that was self-generating and needed the sort of lightest of touches from me to keep it going. Yeah.
Well, like I said, we'll definitely put some information in the podcast and stuff in the bio and stuff and in the links. And if there's any new members that want to join, how to get in contact with you and stuff like that, we can always make sure that happens. That'd be really, really good.
That'd be great. Thanks. Yeah, and we've got like a future NHS work space as well, which again, just trying to sort of populate that with relevant stuff. But ideally, I'd like the members to take over running it and link with each other and network and share. That would be great. Yeah.
Brilliant. Right. So what drew you specifically to qualitative research? Can you share a bit about what you're currently working on and what you've kind of discovered so far?
I'm not able to actually discuss my findings. Yeah. What I can talk about is, I thought about this because you kindly sent me the questions you're going to ask me in advance. And And I could sum it up that any conversation that you might have about, like we said earlier, challenges facing the role, challenges you might, as an individual or some of your nursing associate colleagues might have experienced during their training or post registration, those themes just keep coming up again and again and again in the peer-to-peer discussions. And also currently I've got one paper that I've written that is awaiting editorial approval from the publisher Wiley. It's been with them for a few months, so that'd be great when that's out. That was a scoping review, which essentially just does a database search to see what information exists regarding nursing associates working in MHLDA, and I can report on that there's very little information.
I
Or,
bet, yeah.
yeah. So that was one of the research findings from that there needs to be more research. And then, so I drew from the peer-to-peer groups, I drew some participants for 2 focus groups. I'm currently working on the transcript from the focus groups and trying to write a report on the findings from those focus groups. I really don't want to go into specifics, but I think it would make it accessible that if you could, if you were to give me 3 themes that you think were relevant to you as a nursing associate as a challenge, I could probably go, yeah, that's come up in the research
Yeah.
time and time and time again. And it's also cropping up in other research. It's cropping up in conversations you'll be having. I think but yeah, unfortunately, it is a secret.
At the moment,
I'm not
yeah.
allowed to actually go into the specifics.
We definitely look forward to when that kind of definitely comes out, because like I said, it's going to be really relevant for, especially even like I said, the 10-year program stuff at the NHS and the role of the nursing associates, and just kind of saying and showing the fact that we are almost, like I said, repeating ourselves timeless times. We're all having the same issues, and like even you said about the research around mental health and learning disabilities and stuff like that for nursing associates. I think even when I did my training, it's very much focused on general. And that's how it always felt. It wasn't much about that support and training for nursing associates in those roles. So, no, it is. It's all relevant. And like I said, I know you can't talk about it, but I'm glad you got to mention the little bits, because it's like sneak peeks. It's kind of almost like tempting that little bit to kind of keep us interested. But like I said, when that comes out, we'll look forward to being able to talk about it a bit more.
I mean, I say I can't talk about it, but we can talk about issues that we sort of experience. And like I say, they probably will be in there somewhere. But yeah, I know, as a theatre nursing associate, there wasn't a lot of structure in place for people working in a theatre environment as a nursing associate. And I know there is a bit of work going on with that sort of research and development. But I mean, what do you think needs to be done to embed the role?
Oh, it's weird being on the other end when someone gives me questions.
Yeah, and it's a tough question.
Look at embedding this role. One of the things is obviously looking at when we looked at I said the 10-year program, and also that, and obviously the petition that we were doing about recognition and the issues that we were facing. A lot of it is around lack of education for this role for the NHS professionals, but also for the general public, of not knowing who we are and what we do, and having to explain that and stuff like that has been really hard. Career progression, that it's almost forcing people, like I said, to kind of just go down the top up route. Even you said the moment you qualified, the instant went right to top up now. It's like, well, hang on, I haven't experienced that yet. And I know these roles, even in theatre, and I bang on it. I must say a lot of stuff with other people is that, I spoke to a gentleman who is he's an enrolled nurse in Australia, which is very similar to the nursing associate role here, and he's in theatre. And he's now a senior enrolled nurse now, and it's very much, there are progressions that nursing associates could look at doing. And these roles that we have, we can still stay in those scopes of practice and stuff. But the research, like what you're doing, is so valuable. And especially, like I said, there's research being done in these theatres as well, looking at all these areas that can show what the nursing associates can do and where they can go to help. And obviously, like I said, to have that career progression and satisfaction in their role.
It's interesting that one thing I've learned about research is essentially I'm working on my own on this project that I'm doing. I've got 2 great supervisors, but they, we have regular meetings. I update them. They say, well, try this, maybe do that, tweak it. But it takes a lot of time. and that's a bit frustrating. So the work that you're doing has a much more immediate impact. You can get stuff out there sort of, with, or you've got, that, like I say, I've got something it's been waiting 4 months for the publisher to go yay or nay. I mean, they might return it and say, could you just change this? So that is a bit frustrating.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think, unfortunately, research needs to be done as evidence. It's yeah, yeah. So I understand that, and I'm trying, with the focus group report that I'm writing up at the moment. I really want to get it out quickly. So I'm trying to write it up, which is, it's a challenge. It's quite a challenging process, one that I'm enjoying, but it's, and then I'll have to go through a few peer review sort of phases and then send it off to the publisher, and
yeah.
it might sit in their office for another 4 to 6 months. So that is a bit frustrating. Yeah.
I can imagine so. There's been lots of nursing associates who I've spoken to, even on the national Facebook group. They've mentioned about they're very curious about research roles. What advice would you give to someone who's considering moving from practice into kind of the academic or research careers?
Okay, I think that's a great question. And again, because you have warned me about the questions, I've made a short list of recommendations. So I'd sort of start off by, in the presentation that I gave to the peer-to-peer network on research in practice, I did a bit of research for that, or just preparing for it. So there's a big drive in nursing to generate more research, to generate more engagement with research. It's coming from the chief nursing officer from the Royal College of Nursing. They both got sort of quite exact policies that promote research for nurses and nursing. So that's a good thing. So it's recognized as essential, and hopefully that prominence will create a structure where it is more accessible for people to get into. And then, so there's sort of a few strands to my suggestions on how to get into research. One is just at the floor level, just do your, evidence-based practice, stay on top of current research. So implementation of research is vital. It's no good having a whole sort of library of research if it's not going to be put into practice. There are several drawbacks to people looking for new evidence and research. Time is one of them, culture within their department. Maybe set yourself 15 to 30 minutes a week or a month to just look for some new research that relates to your sort of area of practice. Stay current, stay up to date. Easier said than done. I totally get that. But, that's a very accessible way. And then you can share that with your colleagues, with your team, and with your patients. So evidence-informed practice is vital. And if you're not current and up to date with the evidence, unfortunately, you're going to rely on policy to deliver evidence-based practice.
Yeah,
And then there are sort of other strands to that. There's a lot of organisations that provide paid masters programs. For instance, the
right.
NIHR. You can actually engage in conducting research rather than absorbing other people's. You can get involved with it. Ask your manager, look within your trust, see if they've got a research department, see what's going on. You can look for a secondment as well. You can write a reflective account and try and get that published. That can be a form of research as well. So yeah, that's sort of it. I've got a few other things on the list, but
That's a
yeah. So
good way to start, and kind of, yeah, especially looking into your research team, if there's one in your trust, to kind of get your toe in the door and kind of saying, oh, hello, this is what I'm interested in. Is there anything that I can help with? Or
yeah, get
yeah,
involved with, and with the statement from the chief nursing officer and the RCN. The structure is in place and should be building as well. It should be being developed. And also, nursing associates would be underrepresented in research. And one of the aims for research in practice is to get underrepresented groups involved as well. So, don't despair, don't give up hope. If you are interested in it, which, really as professional nurses, we should all have, at least at the evidence-based practice, we should all be interested in research because, that is the future. Well, it's the now and the future, really. So, yeah.
Which kind of leads me nicely onto my next question to you, which is kind of how do you kind of see the nursing associate role evolving over time, and where does this kind of lifelong learning fit into that journey?
Lifelong learning. I came to education quite late in life. I had a go earlier on with the OU, really good, but I didn't quite get to the finishing post. And then, life, family stuff came along. I think education's a great thing, and it's good to take advantage of it if it's available. I know a lot of my colleagues, when I was doing my training, didn't enjoy the academic side of things. Yeah, it can be a bit tedious, but I think anyone that, if you write an assignment, you're going through quite a sort of grueling mental process of finding this information and hammering it to fit into a concept that you want to pronounce and state. And through that, you are learning quite a lot, and it's changing who you are. So I think, the value of education is to change how you view the world, which is a really positive thing. In terms of the role of the nursing associate, I think anecdotally, when I talk to NA colleagues about, I don't know what you think about this. Actually, I could write a number down. So out of 10, how many nursing associates do you think want to go and top up? Or as a percentage?
I would say 8 out of 10.
No, I was going 7, but yeah. So that's
It's a massive, so that's 70% of the workforce want to just top up.
Yeah, so that's saying a lot of things about the role, isn't it? Really,
it does.
Yeah.
But I think it goes back to that the only door you can go to. I think because you're being funneled into that one direction, that's the only thing you think of. So I think if we open up those doors and say, well, this is where you could go, the research end and how far that could show, and shine that light, hence why getting you on to talk about it, because it's a different role that people don't know about. And I really do generally think there is so many roles out there that people are still kind of, oh, really? A nursing associate can do this? And this is what's important.
My office is based in the sort of research block of our sort of main hospital, and there's at least one other nursing associate who's working there doing a different project to me. But yeah, so research is available to nursing associates. Specialisation. So before I topped up to my social science degree, I went to an open day at Plymouth Uni, and I was really interested in I think it was the advanced theatre practitioner. I thought, great, I've got my nursing associate foundation degree. I'm quite competent now as a scrub nurse. I'm getting this. It's feeling really good. It's like, I knew the environment for years, but actually doing the scrub role was new. But I was getting, not getting cocky, but I was getting quite good at it. Definitely room for improvement. And so I thought, right, where can I go? And I went to the Plymouth Open Day, said I'm interested in the advanced theatre nurse or advanced theatre module course. And can you guess what they said? Anyway, they said, you've got to be a registered nurse to do it. And it was like, okay. So here I am, I'm keen. Yeah, I haven't done that extra sort of 18 months training. And that sort of summed it up to me, really.
Yeah.
I was really keen to progress along that route.
And that's the thing, that's what needs to be looked at, is that, what reason couldn't you do it? What scope out of your scope of practice was it that's saying no? And is it because it's, is it out of your scope of practice? That's the reason why. Or is it because you needed specific training or another type of course to kind of get you to do that? And if it's just that thing, then yeah, that's what needs to be looked at.
They did justify it that, there were aspects of the full registered nurse training that, were I to do that, would equip me better for the role. And it was the prescribing.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was the pharmaceutical side of it that I was given as a reason why I wouldn't be suitable for it. Yeah. And again, in conversations with colleagues, specialization, because I'm in the 3 or the 2%. I'm quite happy as a nursing associate. I may go and top up, but it's not a driving thing for me. But if there was more opportunity to specialize, and it's a taboo subject, but salary as well. If I could function as a nursing associate as higher than a band 4, which I know that there are nursing associates in the UK, well, in England actually, because
Yeah,
it's only,
only yes at
and
the
there
moment.
are
Yeah,
nursing associates that are in band 5, 6. I'm not sure about 7, but there are nursing associates in, and again, regional differences between trusts. That may be another feature of the research that I've been doing. I don't know, Martin. I wouldn't like
yeah,
to say. However, region regional differences seem to be a bit of an
it
issue.
is. Yeah, and even different sectors as well. Like I said, the private sector is a total different ball game to being in the kind of general and in NHS trusts and stuff. So it is.
So I don't know anything about the private sector. So
Yeah,
is your
I'm
GP
private. Yeah,
like,
so we're private sector.
right?
So we're still have NHS guidelines and stuff, and we do follow that. But it is its own business, I suppose. So yeah, it's different in sense of pay for that compared to working in general hospitals and stuff like that. Working as a trust under the banding, there isn't a banding system that we have in where I work. So but that's probably a subject on another day. And going from
Yeah.
there,
Do you want to
one
invite me
battle,
back?
one battle at a time. That's all we can do. And talk about battles and barriers. So, have you kind of faced any kind of barriers or unexpected challenges as a nursing associate working in research? And how have you kind of managed this or overcome them?
I haven't really. I think it's people have been really interested and keen to learn more about what I'm doing, and hopefully I've sort of revealed some of that for you this evening, because that's what you've sort of asked
Yeah,
me here to do. So I
and
hope.
you've kind of left a bit of air of mystery as well.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. No, I've been told by my supervisors that I'm not to discuss the findings of my research until it's published,
Yeah,
which it
no,
makes
totally
sense.
understand. Oh,
Yeah,
100%.
but but I can sort of discuss anecdotal experiences which may or may not link to certain aspects of the research.
Wouldn't you say that one of
Yeah.
your barriers though is having to have patience? Because of the fact you've been waiting so long, you've worked so hard, and you've had to wait for other people to sign things off, and then obviously then being battered back with, oh, this needs to be looked at, this needs to be changed. I think for me, that would knock me back so much just because I've got ADD
Uh,
and stuff like that, that I'd be like, oh wait, I've done it wrong again, done it wrong. That's got to be something that's a barrier that you've had to overcome.
yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah, the patients. I was watching a video about from a meeting of researchers. They all got together, and one guy said it's a really lonely. It is. It's essentially, yeah, it is quite isolated. He's working on your own, which I do miss the sort of the team working. So, but I sort of think I connect. I really feel a purpose of what I'm doing, that I'm trying to get the nurse associate voice out there. So I may be working in isolation, but I do feel that connection as well. And that sort of motivates me quite a lot to pull my finger out and get on with it. I mean, it takes ages, or it's taking me ages, and some of the processes. So you submit something, like you say, and then you're waiting for someone else to approve it or not. That is a bit frustrating. And yes, getting told, send stuff off for review, and then you get criticised. It's like, okay, but yeah. So yeah, thanks for spotting that, because I hadn't really done that myself.
But also, I think you say it's very lonely. It's all by yourself. But one thing that I've learned, even for the journey that I've seemed to be on at the moment, is that one person, they say, can't make a difference, but that's absolutely rubbish. One person can make a difference because in order for change to happen, someone has to say, no, this needs to be looked at. This needs to be doing something. And if it isn't for that one person saying that, and like for you not doing that research, looking into this by yourself, you're taking that sacrifice of what you're doing regarding these, so being by your own, but you're going to make such a difference and impact later on that it's going to be worth it. And you're going to sit back and kind of look and go, cool, I did that. I helped
Yeah,
with this.
yeah,
And I
and
think
that
that's what's important.
really motivates me. But going again, your stuff is much more immediate. I think we're probably saying the same thing, just in a slightly different format. I would think that's a pretty reasonable way of looking at it. Yeah, but you can. Yeah, I like what you're doing as well, because it's direct.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
no, and even I got to admit, even with myself, it's been elements of being lonely as well. I think especially with the petition and stuff like that, and the negativity people were giving to me over Twitter and all this kind of stuff, that made me question, why am I doing this? Why have I put myself out on this line? I don't need all this hassle. But then I realized the impact it was having on people. The fact that I saw thousands of people signing this petition that I set up, that literally had no backing, from no financial backing. It was just one little middly person living in the southwest went, oh, this sounds like a good idea. Let's see if we can do it this way. And that gave me that confidence to kind of keep going and keep pushing, and to ignore those people that were kind of fighting against me. And I think that's why, having people knowing that you got guys like you doing these research behind me to back me up with the evidence that I'm screaming and shouting about on these podcasts, to go,
Yeah.
there it is.
I mean,
it's not just me.
I've got a sort of, I don't know about impartiality. I believe in all research, it's impossible to be 100% impartial, but, I've got to be objective. So, my findings, yeah. But, yeah, it's interesting you saying that, people are obviously challenged by what you're doing, which is, that sort of, people don't like change, do they? And they, if they're challenged, you've got to ask, why are they challenged? My social science course, I looked at, one of the assignments I did looked at professionalism, and introduce professional protectionism occurs. Professions will protect their professional identity from intruders.
And finally, looking ahead, what do you hope to achieve, both personally and for kind of NA community through your research and peer-to-peer network?
Yeah, I think for the research, we've sort of just covered that. So making some sort of difference that will inform how the role is developed. And I'm sort of, again, I can't discuss what I'm currently working on that much. And there isn't a lot of research at the moment. The focus groups that I've done, the discussions were really succinct, and they touched on all the points that, the wider nursing associate community would recognise as contentious. So I'm trying to put that in a formal report. You can ignore it, but it's out there. So that's what I'm hoping to do with that. With the peer-to-peer community practice, it would be great if, I still want to be morbid, but if I was hit by a bus tomorrow, it carried on in my absence, that would be fantastic.
Your legacy, it's still going.
I mean, unlikely, because where I'm, there aren't any buses where I'm walking at the moment. So, mind you, who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, but in terms of my career, I'd like to continue in research, but also a bit of me would quite like to. So doing the MHLDA research, I thought, maybe I can go and get into MHLDA nursing. That looks really interesting. I've never thought about it before, but I'm actually quite interested by it. And as you said, the 10-year plan, maybe my contract ends next year, so maybe go back to theatre nursing, but community nursing sort of is more of an interest as well. I mean, it's great having the nursing associate sort of registration. It's the only trouble is that there aren't a lot of nursing associate sort of vacancies.
No, that's the one thing you're struggling with, even though the role is so diverse, and like I said, you can go into so many different fields. But that's what's so amazing. This really needs to be utilised more. So, that sounds amazing, and I hope for the future that, like I said, I'm glad that you even, like I said, noticed a different career path, the LD way and stuff that you never really thought of before, and this is what it's kind of shown. Peter, thank you for joining us today. But before we wrap this up, like I said, we always get our guests to add a song to our SNA and RNA playlists. So what was one song that you'd like us to include? Maybe it's something that motivates you, kind of makes you feel proud, or just one that, you love listening to?
I think that is the toughest question, because, it's like, where do you start? So I did sort of get one. I did sort of finalize one. But before I give you that, thank you very much for inviting me. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's been really interesting. Really nice to meet you as well.
Yeah,
so thank you very much.
It's been a while in the making. I know it's like I said, it's very much smoke and daggers of what goes on behind closed doors with research and stuff. But I'm glad that you've been able to highlight it as much as you're allowed to, and to obviously give people a bit more curiosity and even thinking about it. So I'm glad that we are able to make this work, and for you to be able to come in and talk about your journey as well.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, evidence-based practice, get involved with research. There are ways. And yeah, if it's something that you've experienced as a nursing associate, it's probably linking to the research that I'm doing currently. So that's without giving any more away. So the song
Yes.
is what's it called? Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence by Ryuichi Sakamoto. I just think
Oh,
the melody, and it sort of builds slightly, but just the phrase of the melody on its own, it's sort of musical perfection for me. So, yeah.
fantastic. Well, I look forward to actually listening to that because it's one I probably haven't heard, but it's definitely one that I'm going to definitely be adding to the playlist as well to help us motivate us to kind of get us through those shifts and stuff and long days, like we always say. But Peter, thank you ever so much for joining me, and it's been a pleasure. And yeah, you take care.
Yeah, likewise. And yeah, and enjoy your new arrival as well. So I think that's marvelous. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Cheers, Pete.
Yeah. Cheers, Martin. Yeah. Bye-bye. Bye.